Hi guys, in this video I'm gonna go over 5 jazz guitar albums that I've listened to while I was learning and talk about what I learned from them and what I like about them. Playing jazz is not only the study of improvisation and learning a set of skills to play over certain types of harmony or certain types of songs. It's also the study of a language and the study of a tradition. And if you really want to learn to play jazz, you kind of also need to learn some of that tradition. And the way to learn that is not only lessons and books, it's also going to be really digging into some inspiring old music and check that out on a very thorough level. I get asked really often about what I listen to and where I learn certain things from. So I made this list of the classic jazz guitar albums, and I split it up so that it's only going to be about the music that's from the 60s to the 40s to the 60s, mainly because before the whole fusion thing there's a certain type of sound and a certain language where pretty much everything is in swing, and you really get really straight hard bop and bebop phrasing, and that's something you need to learn if you really want to learn how to play jazz, and you get that mostly from that period. Then there's another period from the 80s onwards which I also listened to a lot already from the beginning, but it's almost a different kind of music, and I thought that I would make another list for that. I think that makes more sense. So the first album I want to talk about is a George Benson album called Cookbook. Actually the song that I learned from this album I learned before I had the whole album, because it was on a compilation that my guitar teacher made for me on tape, and that's a tune called The Borgia Stick. The good thing about this album is that it's fairly simple. It's one of the George Benson albums where he plays more guitar than he sings, because those are the albums that I prefer. But especially this song, The Borgia Stick, is a really simple tune. It's pretty much some walk around in A minor, nothing much is happening. But the solo is, it's George Benson, so the phrasing is really good. And at the same time, it's not too complicated. It's a lot of minor pentatonic, more or less, or at least just A minor. There's a chord solo that uses relatively few voicings, but still sounds good. So I learned some stuff like these kind of A minor voicings, and he can really do a lot with only a few tools, and that's very useful. And at the time when I learned this, I couldn't actually play a standard. I didn't know that much, and I probably also wasn't sure I was getting any of it right, because so much of it was minor pentatonic. But it's a great solo, and the whole album is really good. There's another album around this time called Uptown, which is also really good to check out. The Jim Hall Ron Carter album, Alone Together, is a great example of an album of two people playing standards and then using especially reharmonization, but also other things to just give the standards a little twist and make them more personal, without really sort of going away and making it into a circus. And also, of course, as it always is with Jim Hall, he's maybe not so traditional, and it's not the place where you learn all the standard bebop phrasing, but it is also a place where you really hear people working with strong ideas and then developing those ideas, which is something you want to check out as well. So for that, it's also a great album. I think one of the things that I really liked from this album was, for instance, that they took like a G minor tonic chord and turned it into a D flat 7 13 chord, because that fits the melody, and it continues very well in the progression and stuff. So there are some sort of nice, good ideas in terms of harmony to take off of this album, and it's also just a relaxed album with some really strong playing on it. I've studied really a lot of Joe Pass stuff, both from books and from records, and one of the tracks that I checked out from a transcription is the track Joe's Blues from the Intercontinental, which is a Joe Pass trio album. That's really one of the best Joe Pass albums that I know. Especially what is good about this is, of course, that it's Joe Pass playing blues, so you get a lot of strong blues phrasing, but it's also just Joe Pass, so it's also going to be a lot of great lines, a lot of great hard bop, and there's going to be some chord solos, and it's very difficult to play, and it's quite a lot of hard work to check out, but it's definitely worthwhile checking out. And I think it's also one of the better Joe Pass albums. It's Joe Pass really when he was at his best, in my opinion, so that's why this album is in there. The first Martino album, Hombre, is an album that I started checking out just when I started playing jazz also. It's one of the first sort of classic jazz albums that I really liked. And the track Just Friends is probably the first solo that I actually tried to transcribe, where I not only learned to play it but also tried to write it down. And I found out how difficult that is. But I learned really a lot from that, and I also saw already some stuff going on where he was using the same types of phrases and the same melodic ideas on different places in the song, and how he would reuse some of the lines. And for that was a really useful experience for me when I was trying to learn just to get through a standard and play anything that made any kind of sense. So that's a really good album. I think it's also one of his better albums, mostly because he doesn't play as much as he does later. He plays really dense, and it can be a little bit intellectual what's going on. I think this album, he's probably very much trying to sound like Wes actually, but he does it really well, and the whole album is swinging, and there's a lot of good stuff going on, so that's definitely worthwhile checking out. The last album I want to talk about is Wes Montgomery's Smoking at the Half Note. This is probably, if there's one jazz guitar album that you should have in your collection, then Smoking at the Half Note is probably that album. I think it's some of the best hard bop on guitar that there is, and it's also Wes at its very best, I think. It's an album that I pretty much learned all of the solos from, and at the time when I wanted to learn this, it was because I wanted to improve my phrasing and my timing, and so I didn't write it down. I wasn't really too concerned with all the melodic ideas. I was more concerned with just being able to play along with the record and really feel how it felt to play those kind of lines and get that kind of phrasing. And that was a really useful thing to do, to really go so deep and then sort of cut away this thing that you want to study the harmony and all that stuff. Of course, at the time I could already figure out most of the stuff that was going on, so it was not like complete mystery to me what he was playing. But I wasn't too concerned with it. I was just more concerned with really hearing the lines and playing them with the track and learning from that. And that was a very useful experience for me. It was a period of probably a half year when I was really working on learning all these solos and trying to keep them a bit in shape and being able to play them. And of course it's Wes, so there's going to be all sorts of stuff. It's some really solid single note lines, but it's also octaves, and it's also chord solos, and it's definitely worthwhile checking out. And I think also this, some of the classic jazz guitar tunes to check out, like 4 and 6 is on there, Unit 7, and there's a great version of Impressions on it, so definitely an album to check out. That was my top 5 of jazz guitar albums that I listened to and that I learned a lot from when I was learning to play jazz guitar. And of course there are albums that I still listen to. I think the order of this list is maybe not too important. You could probably move it around a bit, except for the Wes Montgomery one being the most important, I think. What is your top 5? Leave a comment on the video and let me know. Maybe there's something that I don't know about, something that you think I missed. Or maybe there's something I actually just forgot to put in the list. That could be too. So yeah, leave a comment about that. I'm gonna probably be doing more of these sort of vlog type videos that are not really lessons, but more just talking about different things related to playing guitar or learning jazz. So if you have any suggestions for topics or any comments on that, then leave a comment or send me a message on social media. In this video I also included in the description links to the different albums, so if you want to support my lessons you can do that by checking out the albums through my affiliate links in the description. If you then purchase any of the albums, then I get a small percentage, and it's gonna help me keep making videos. So that's my list. I'm probably gonna try to make another list that's more about the more modern players that I listen to, because at the same time as I was listening to the sort of traditional players, I was also listening to people from that were active in the 80s and onwards, and that's also a huge part of how I play, I think. But that's going to be in another video. So thank you for watching, and until next time.